thank you for making it back at the intended time. This helps us in sticking to our timelines as per our agenda and helps us get it over with the immediate time we promised to you. From up here on stage, it's always good to see all heads and no empty chairs. Everyone in this room will agree when I say that there are two buzzwords doing the circles in the professional and corporate circles. And these are cloud and big data. Each with their own security vulnerabilities and threats. And when put in unison, this could make or break the organization that uses it, depending on how the risks are managed. Our next speaker, Ahmed, can tell us how the modernized IT delivery model can overcome the underlying forces of threats and vulnerabilities and enhance the delivery of IT services to the business in an efficient and effective manner. The topic for our next talk is understanding and analyzing the cloud and big data security problems, and Ahmed Ahmed is from Sky Computing. Ahmed is a technology evangelist and international speaker with more than 2 decades of experience in project management, ERP, application development, e-healthcare, business alignments, and transformations, and has delivered wealth of projects for different business domains across the globe. He has been designing and developing complete end-to-end managed solutions for global customers with a primary role to lead, manage, architect, design, develop, and implement business solutions for various business segments and sectors. He has been actively delivering many high-profile conferences, summits, and symposiums across several countries, besides being invited as a guest speaker at several universities, and is here with us today to share his experience. I call upon Ahmed Ahmed to take this forward. Thank you.
We have a plan B, which has taken a few nanoseconds or a few minutes, but it's okay, so it's going to work. And I just went to the toilet, and then I went to wash my hand, and I felt like the water is not coming, so one of our colleagues here, he tried to help me out, that I need to put my hands inside, so that the water will be served. So security also, I think it is something, is it going? Yes. So security also requires, so in order to be served, you need to, you as a customer, you need to bring your hands or you need to be available so that you will be served with water and with different consumerized services. As you can see, this is the topic. Basically, this particular topic, so I will be talking on the cloud, big data, and as well as some of the security components. So most likely my session will be not a very hardcore session which Mr. Amar and other gentlemen has given with regards to the security side. I will be talking about the business side, I will be talking about the technological side, I will be talking about the business processes. So we are in the era of emerging technologies. As you can see, all the IT transformation is happening. There is business transformation is happening. Now the consumer, they are influencing the business to adopt what it is required by them. So we are living in a world of consumerization. We are living in a world of commoditization and so on. So security, I was just thinking, what is security? Security, some people they think it's like a burden. It It is about the compromising the performance. It is about making an investment on something which is not being used. So there are different perspectives. So from the perspective which I would like to project today, it is about from the IT perspective and from the consumer side, consumer perspective. And let me go back to this fundamentals. So when you are talking about the security, when you are talking about methodology, when you are talking about frameworks, when you are talking about business process improvement, alignment, and transformation, we are talking about basically not as something which you really need to transform. We are talking about sticking to the basics and fundamentals. So this is what I have learned before 20 years, that there are 7 layers. There is a physical layer, there is data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, and there is a presentation layer, and there is application layer. So whenever you are talking about the security, it is about are we having a secure environment, a physical secure environment, where we are talking about whatever we have, the physical media and all of that, the cabling, are they up to the standards? Are they providing? I had one instance that there is one big large organization, they have implemented some gigabit layout, the cabling and all of that. And thanks to the Windows 8, although I'm not a supporter of the brand, but it does show you when you are transferring the files, or you are copying the files, or you are doing something, you can measure what is the connectivity between the source and the destination, what is the bandwidth. So you will be able to measure that particular thing. So when I saw like this, it was just transferring with some megabits or something like that. Then I asked the infrastructure manager, what is the cost? He said, no, this is what we have to design, and this has been approved by so many big consultancy house and all of that. And then we found something else. So when you talk about the transformational technologies, before we talk about anything, let us stay with the fundamentals, let us stay with the basics, and let us understand what we are doing, because no one from outside can do a better job than yourself. So it is about doing the job in a right way, in a right manner, at the right time, and also adopting the industrial best practices and mapping and relating to your environment. And that's what it is all about. So let us go back. So we are talking about the MAC addresses and all of that, and there are packets which we are transferring, and we are talking about segments which are different VLANs and all of that from the infrastructure perspective, and then we are talking about data replication, data encryption, and so many techniques we are talking about, and then we are talking about application layer, which is sitting on top of the presentation layer. So security is, if you see, this is the security is embedded in every component. This is the same OSI model which we have heard and learned. This is the same thing. So when you are designing the security, you have to actually make sure that all those layers, they are in place, they are intact, and they are reflecting they are being orchestrated in a way that it reflects your organizational strategy, objectives. In conventional data center model, which we are, I think even today, most of the organizations we are practicing, we are talking about provisioning, we are talking about upgrades, whether it's a hardware upgrade, software upgrade, infrastructure upgrade, connectivity upgrades, and so many things we are talking about. And then we are talking about tuning, and there is a performance tuning is also somewhere over here, I don't know where it is. So disaster planning, so many organizations, they have a disaster planning, they used to do it as part of their strategic meetings. But have you checked what happens exactly during the disaster? You just shut down without telling to anyone, you shut down the whole infrastructure in your data center and see how your disaster recovery center will work in that particular disaster scenario. I have been discussing lately with one of the gentlemen, and he was saying we need some space for some BI analytics. The guy, the infrastructure responsible, he was saying no, that was only that storage was allocated for the disaster recovery, and that we cannot assign and all of that he was saying. I said, this is a disaster situation. Why don't you consider this as a disaster situation? we are in a disaster because the backup and things were not working. So anyway, when you talk about the backup, so many times the backup, what happens? The backup happens, but there is no restore strategy. Even if there is a restore, but if they will not be able to restore the whole service. There is no one follows the SOA principle. No one follows how it is not about restoring the data because there is some configurations you need to do in order to bring back that particular service. So when I am saying, you might be thinking what it has to do with the cloud and big data, because we came here to listen something on the emerging technologies, we came here to listen something different. If that is your concept, no, this is not I am going to talk. I am going to tell you, not to tell you that how you should do it. My job here is just to invoke or to trigger the thought-making process. So when you are talking about the transformation or emerging technologies, it is about the mindset transformation also. So IT transformation cannot happen without the business transformation, and the business transformation cannot happen without the mindset transformation. No matter how good you have the technology, how good you have the infrastructure in place and all of that, but you don't have that mindset to adopt a strategic change which is happening in the world. That will pose you with the different challenges. We are talking about the broken integrations, because the integration, we as an application developer, we as a service provider, we as a solutions architect, all our butter and bread, it is in the integration. It is in the problem resolution. So we'll talk about the problem resolution at the later stage. And then we are talking about broken customizations, we are talking about security vulnerabilities and all of that. What I saw the agenda, that there are so many sessions which are specifically focused on the security side. So I may touch some of the security elements, but I am not the expert on the security component. I am more on the big data, cloud, and my title was systems integrations manager. And then reliability and unhappy customer. After all we do it, you go and ask the business how much they are happy, they will tell you. Again, when you are talking about the two perspectives, as you might be, because for us as an IT pros, the business is the trigger, business is the driving force. It's not about the IT, it is always about the business. It was a business and it is a business and it is for the business. So business is the driver. Once you start your career, you might be thinking only from the business-centric point of view. Now it is the time for you to think from the consumer-centric, from the value-centric, from the business-centric. Those are the perspectives, and whatever it is required from the infrastructure, from the methodological point of view, from the framework point of view, you need to adopt and you need to apply. When I said adopt and apply, we might be listening that CIO's Chief Information Officer, and information is given. But when we are not applying a certain tools and techniques and applying your knowledge, applying your skill set, there is no knowledge. So these are the perspectives you might be hearing from the different speakers as well. This is data came up in June 2013. It is about when we are talking about the security aspect, the concerns related to, we cannot understand the security unless we understand our own infrastructure. What are the underlying drivers, what are the underlying forces, how the infrastructure has been architected, you will not be able to understand. So having a clarity with an understanding and relating that particular understanding to your strategic objectives and goals is very important. And that's what he's saying, that these are the drivers for change, because the change is happening, and change is the need of today. Customer requires a change in the configurations, in the customizations, in the personalizations, and so on. And the business need to adopt those dynamic capabilities in order to address those changes and to really have a competitive advantage in the market. So big data, it is one of the drivers we see, that cloud computing, because cloud is nothing but it is your data center. Data center where you don't know where it is located, having all those characteristics which the data center is it is talking about. We will see that in the next slide about the agility, flexibility, and provisioning, decommissioning, and all of that. We will talk about that particular thing. And digitalization, as per the Gartner, by year 2015, around 25% of large US organizations will have a CDO, Chief Digitization Officer. So digitization is one of the components it is coming from. Last week I was in one of the conference and I delivered actually on the cloud, and then the other gentleman he came up and he was talking about the BPM, Business Process Management. And then he said it is not about the IT, it is not about anything, but it is always about the business process management. It is about the business process alignment, it is about the business process improvement, and it is about the business process transformation. Then fortunately I had a luck to back up with the other session on the big data. Then I said, yes, whatever he said, it is like a complementing, and we need to adopt those kind of methodological approaches which has been there, where you not only optimize the business processes from the horizontal, but also from the lean management you can. But it is always about the data. The data is something which is valuable. At the end of the day, what we are talking about, it is about the data. Mr. Amar, I think he was talking about the network of things. Last year, Cisco, they came up and they said there will be 50 billion devices in the world by year 2015, which will have a kind of connectivity. So when we come across with that statistics, now it is more evident, which we can see ourselves, that each one of you have a certain a computational device, and those computational devices, they are connected in some or other way. When we say computational device, we think it's about the iPad, iPhone, and all of that smart stuff which we are carrying. Believe me, there are so many devices which we think they are not having connectivity, but they are connected devices. Recently, we started seeing like Xbox, and we see the PlayStation, and so many playing games which provide you a collaborative platform for the players, for the gamers to interact, to collaborate while they are playing. And also your fridge, your electrical appliances, they have the connectivity. Even last year also I come across with the Android, there are some Chinese developers, they have developed, I don't know what was the origin. All those your electrical peripherals and all of that through the Android, subroutine you can control. These things are happening. And when you have a connectivity, one device is connected to the other device, we are not just talking about, it is not only emitting the data, but when you capture that particular data in a sense-making manner, then the value you can derive. Value itself is a value engineering we call. What it gives a value for me, it may not work for you. So a value perspective also needs a definition. So when we are talking about a value definition, we are talking about identifying. When in the problem resolution, we have to say the problem is not about resolving. If you see the SLAs, the Microsoft and the big companies, what they do, they provide a response SLA. There is no resolution SLA. Because I can guarantee you that I am available and I am there for you for 24/7 as per the process which is already mentioned in your contract and SLAs. So we need to have a holistic understanding, not only for our infrastructure and our environment, but also you have to see what are the underlying forces, what are the external forces, what are the internal resistance we have. From the project management perspective, constancy is a part of the project. You cannot have life without the problems. So problems, we are being paid as an IT, and we are happy for that, for the problems. If there are no problems, then we will be out of the job. So again, this is what I am trying to say. So I will not be branding or trying to emphasize or elaborate those terminologies, because nowadays there are so many terminologies are there. And of course, the branding is something which we need to believe, and that because that's also associated with the reputation, recognition. You will not be able to drink Pepsi if it is like without any name. When you see that this is a Pepsi, you will be able to drink, you know that this is what is going to satisfy, irrespective of the quality of the product. It doesn't mean that I'm not saying that quality is there, but also the branding and all of that. So, if you see the social media regulatory stuff, which is recently with the PRISM breach, which they have accessed the data without the consent from the users or from the service provider, that has really gravely impacted negatively. So, it doesn't mean that we should not stop our initiatives on the transformational technologies or on the emerging technologies. I would say, before you talk about anything, you just stay with the basics and fundamentals. There are things you have to do it, which will really help you to be ready with the transformation. And I would like this session to be collaborative, so if somebody have anything to talk or to comment or to ask, I am not very much expert, but I can share with you because you are the advocate for your organization, you are the advocate for your own environment, and you know it well. What is my role here? Just to trigger the thought, just to see how to prepare you for the mindset transformation. Here, from the IT strategic transformation perspective, we are talking about a methodological approach required to improve IT performance management and monitoring. When you talk about the value, when you talk about the security, when you talk about different things, we are talking about a performance. At the end of the day, you are performing. So some they think that it is always about the performance management. Whatever it requires for me to perform, from the sales perspective, from the IT, the service delivery perspective, from the IT project management perspective, and so on, and program perspective. So there are IT challenges we have. And there was a survey recently which has been done 2 weeks before by I don't know what is a McKinsey or some organization. According to their survey, they said business productivity and cost reduction is the 83% of the concern. It is not about the transformational technologies. So most of the CIOs or head of ITs, their first priority is how I can increase the business productivity and how I can reduce the cost. By taking this particular first line, then the Six Sigma and those process management guys, they will stand up and say, see, this is what we have been talking about. It is about the productivity, improving the productivity and reducing the cost, reducing the defect, reducing the time. And then business agility and speed to the market, which is 54%, which cloud computing does provides. And when you are talking to the cloud, the big data cannot happen without having a computational infrastructure. How many of you know what is a flop? Flop is nothing but when we talk about the performance, computational power and so on, flop is nothing but it is something where you can see the performance or the computational power of a machine. Floating point operational something, I myself don't remember, but that is the unit of measuring the performance. And so many institutes, they came up with different machines which can exabyte of data, it can compute supercomputers and all of that. When I say supercomputer, we talk about, and by the way, when we are talking about the speed of computation, and when we talk about generating the data from the different sources, we need an environment where we need not only a centralized environment where we can compute, but also we need to compute the data in a reasonable amount of time. How many organizations today they can make a strategic decision at the board level by looking at the real-time analytics? I think very few. And since I have been also there for more than 2 decades in the industry, and we used to listen kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. And recently we started listening since more than, I think, since 2 years, petabyte, hexabyte, zettabyte, yottabyte, and there is brontobyte and geobyte also. Why? Where have been there before? It is there because now it is a need. A human, my father used to tell that requirement is the necessity of the innovation. When you don't have the problem, you will not think about the resolution. And I think he has also heard from somebody else. Again, the capability, innovations, and all of that. I will try to skip some of the slides because I have many slides, so I want to see how much you are attentive. So that's what I am driving, So you might have seen this one when you are talking about the cloud service and operational model. I'm the guy, by the way, I will not go with the slides. I will go with your attention. If you are looking at me, that means you are interested, so I will speak more on that particular topic. So if you see from the deployment point of view, these are the deployment models which we see: private cloud, community cloud, hybrid cloud, and public cloud. So, and the community cloud is nothing but all of that is not there in the slide. So this is ISACA, they have done a good job. There is a Facebook here, there is Google here, there is Google Plus, there is LinkedIn, my favorite, and there is a Microsoft Skype. Those guys, they are representing, before I used to say 2 years or 1.5 years before, 1/3 of the world's population, they are connected today to the internet. But today I can tell you, we are in the 2/5 of the population. So from 33.333, we reach to 40 or 40 something. That's the population, that's all the world community is there. So it is an opportunity for IT guys to show off. Not just to show off, but also to deliver the value to your society, to deliver value to your own company, to apply the skill sets and the knowledge, what you have learned today, previously, and so on. So we are talking about these deployment models. Some of them, even in some part of the Europe, even today, that the cloud characteristics which provide the agility and it will be always there for you. But there are jurisdictions and there are legislations which will not allow you to put your data at any place. Last year I was in Delhi addressing for the cloud computing, Airtel, I think, they were saying they have the operations across India and they could not trace the data, their data from different states because there are different laws or there are some permission they need to take. So it is not only on the technological aspect, but also there is jurisdiction, there is a business aspect, there is integration, and there is a unification of all those heterogeneous technologies. We as an IT pro, we cannot tell that Microsoft can provide all the required solutions. SAP, they have the really hardcore environment, or the Oracle, they are very good on the financial side. We cannot say that. We are living in a heterogeneous world, and Dubai is a place of multiple culture. We are living in a multicultural society. So when you talk about IT, we are talking about different elements. Even our 5 people, they are not of equal size and symmetry. Although it is a human habit to see everything from the symmetric perspective. Anyway, resource planning, rapid elasticity, and on all of this. I think some of the speakers, they will elaborate, so I will be not talking more on the fundamental side of it. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, application as a service, and IT as a service, HR as a service, and said anything as a service. That's an exaggeration, but this is what it is today. I just want to show you, this is the NIST model, the taxonomy. All these components, what you see, there is a security. You cannot come here and talk about the security. I have multiple layer of security. I have basically what I saw, I am not a hardcore security consultant, but what I saw, what are all the implementations from the security side which has been done with a large organization, they only consider the infrastructure side. And nowadays, recently, since few months, I am seeing even the Gartner, they came up. There is a cloud, security cloud, irrespective wherever you have the location, what kind of devices, bring all devices, and bring your own device. Bring even your appliances also, no problem. No need to even limit yourself to the device. Bring your fridge, bring your TV, bring all your gaming and everything. So, as long connect, you can apply a central policy. And that central policy, based on the different data types, based on the application type, based on the protocols type, based on the behavioral side. I remember Novel, I think 15 years before, they have launched a product called Managed Voice. I don't know how many of you remember that particular product. And that was the good thing, the bad thing that time, it was virus was a big threat. If you are protected with a virus and having antivirus updates and having those patches from Microsoft and other vendors, then that means you are really secure enough. But now, security is not just limited to that particular conventional or traditional way of defense. We have different, and you cannot even think, Even your Android, I think Amar was talking about, your Android handheld can hack your own infrastructure, the whole infrastructure. We were actually, security guys are lazy guys. I'm the lazy. We as a human, we have the laziness. That's why we prefer the simplicity, we prefer the easiness. Whatever is simple and whatever is easy, that's what the consumer wants. And that's why the iPhone has went like a wildfire, or a smartphone has been adopted, because it's easy. My kid, he's much better than me in using that particular smart device. And my grandmother also, my grandfather also, he don't need a real training. It's a natural way of doing things, interacting with the technology. So we as a human, we like simplicity. We like things to be very simple. So taking and orchestrating the technological part and reflecting the simplicity on the consumer side, on the user side, and that's an art. And that's what it is required today. You don't need to be really an evangelist or some technical architecture. Some of the titles which I read, I feel like scared. Oh my God, he's so knowledgeable. Everybody is knowledgeable. Everybody has pros and cons so anyway, I will move on this. So please, I said, in the question Q&A, you can ask the technical stuff, but I am trying to bring the thought process, because I know each individual of you have been running an IT environment. You know it, what you have to do. The only thing, you have to have a mindset, you have to have a thought-provoking mindset, and you have to adopt the technologies, you have to adopt the frameworks, you have to adopt the methodology, you have to know what is happening, take the information, analyze, and all of that. So here, these are the characteristics. On-demand self-service, multi-tenancy, service adaptability, and so on. All of this. So I will move on this one. Unless somebody is interested on the slide. This is very conventional and traditional. It looks, but actually I used to love this particular slide, which is not very fancy, but it's like Emirates airline, it's taking off. So what I used to say, before you talk about the technology, before you talk about anything, you go and see assessment, jump into a data center and see what you have from the software side, from the services side, and from different. What happens? Some of the IT pros, they still think virtualization means you are ready to the cloud. For me, the virtualization process has to happen after these 3 steps. Assessment, you assess what are the softwares you have, what are the services you have, what are the business processes, what is the commitment from your business side to the user or to the customer. That's what you need to assess. You align, and then you standardize. You standardize from the version perspective, you standardize from the process management perspective, you align the process, you improve the process, and then you just make it. Even unification, like the cost saving, I challenge the cost saving, at least 20% it is there before even you go to the cloud, if you do all of that. And that's how the cloud vendor, they are taking the advantage. They are saying, when you go to the cloud, there is 20 to 25% financial benefit. And that's what it attracts to the CFOs. Oh my God. So let us go to the cloud, let us go to the big data, let us transform our business, and let us be ahead with our competitors. And then we are talking about consolidation. When you are consolidating, you are reducing the security risk. I don't really need to go check the vulnerabilities and all of that, I can reduce. Instead of monitoring the security aspect for 100 servers or 2000 servers, I can just see only few number of servers or few number of instances. I apply one policy or one on the hypervisor or whatever you have the logical layer, you just apply, and the same security based on the characteristic of the device, it will be applied. And that's what it is all about. Then virtualization and automation and the self-service provisioning, because it is always about the self-service. Now you remember most of the IT staff used to be dedicated for the user management and access management, password resets and all of that. Now the self-service provisioning, you go, no matter whatever the service you have, you just say forget password, the password will come to you. And of course there are mechanisms where the SMS or the call will be made, then to check, all of that it happens. Security was a concern in the traditional IT, and it is a concern even today, and it will remain a concern. The only thing you as a leader, you as a head of the IT, you need to bounce back with the resilience. You have to bounce back with the governance. You have to bounce back with the adoption of best practices. This is according to the CSA. Big data echo challenges. This is when you talk about the big data, you are talking about the infrastructure security. And infrastructure security can be gained only through the distributed frameworks. You have to apply a distributed framework, the one which I was saying, irrespective of your environment, how distributed it is, irrespective of the handheld, irrespective of the appliances, the security will be applied. As the gentleman was asking, the push will happen, so that we talk from the Active Directory perspective, we just push the group policy, and that group policy will be applied irrespective of the user object or the stuff which is there in the infrastructure. And then there is the data privacy and then data management. So security is not only at the service side, but also the packets which you have, those packets need to be secure. However, there is a conventional saying that more security means less performance, or no security means higher performance. But the balance, who is the one who will put that balance from the financial perspective, the break-even, where you will put that equation? What is the security level which is applicable for my organization? Of course, everybody wants the life to be secure. I want to live 1,000 years of life. But the reality is that will not happen. So, we are the one who are the educated to find and identify the balancing of the security, and without affecting the functionality and the performance, and the database management and the integration. So all these three, according to the CSA, they were saying through the modeling, analysis, and implementation. So when you are talking about the security and risk is it's a big. So many organizations, they have identified the risk, but even they have the mitigation plan, but it has never been rolled out. Having a better plan, having a good plan, and without backing up with the execution, what is the use of that particular plan? So, and having a bad plan, but with a good execution, also it will not bring the result. So we have to have a good plan, and as well as the balanced execution with the commitment and all of that. And the transformation will not happen unless you really commit, you really be a little bit with the aggression. Aggression with the commitment to the organization, aggression with the commitment to the society, aggression with the commitment to the end users to whom you are delivering the service. And those things. Please read for me. Okay. So this is something about how you should build a scalable architecture. I think you guys know, so I don't know how much time I have, so I'm just trying to rush, because what happens usually, how much time we have? Okay. And when you are designing or orchestrating or designing a service, believe me, failure in mind. Every single service which is in place in our environment, think that it's going to fail. Even you have double redundancy and all of that, it's going to fail. Then believe me, you will come up. So many times I saw that the sand, storage and all of that, it has all that, but there is one link, either it could be router or it could be a fiber channel cable in the at the data center, which has never been taken into consideration, but the service will not come. So when you are talking about check, lay down the whole structure and services, all of that, software, licenses and all of that, you make it. What happens? Everything is there in place. When you want to restore, during the disaster, the agent which is responsible for taking the backup for your infrastructure or for your SAN storage, the license is not there. So you will not be able to restore in the other computer name. So, although everything is perfect, everything is being done properly, but it happens because of one small element. So you need to visualize, you need to understand, and you need to act and react. Trustworthy computational environment. When you are building a trustworthy, more secure, agile, scalable, which can really cater the business. Not only the catering the business, but also complying with all those different regulatory authorities. When you are talking about the compliance, I just try to put only a couple, but that's not the end of the story. The ISACA and there are so many others, they have those models, frameworks. You need to really put into practice and see how and where and what you can do about that. So when you are talking about the compliance, financial compliances, gap, I just put it, ISO, SLAs, all those, there is agreement. So many organizations I saw that they are giving the SLAs without making sure that we have all those resources required to really complement, and otherwise it's like cheating. It is because you are not having the enough resources, capability in order to fulfill the SLA commitment. Assume that 5 organizations you have the capability to serve 5, but you committed for 50. Because of rationalization, because of the different problems, licensing, EMC, somebody else, or a hardware problem, you know that 4 to 6 weeks is a common thing. So at the end of the day, the business will be impacted. So you need to understand and identify those risk elements and patterns. Okay, I was talking about the management. That time, what they have done, it is the behavioral, it is the symptom based. I don't even, if somebody is infecting your environment and you have a vulnerability in your environment, it doesn't have to be based on the database which the service provider is providing, even based on the symptoms, based on the patterns. Why it is happening? There are some bots which are like a subroutine programs. They will be assigned to do that specific job. When I was talking about the connected world, all those devices, have we ever imagined how many your cars they are connected? All those embedded devices which have those subroutines which are in place, they are triggering and they are recalling itself. And all that is emitting the data. So again, we are talking about the governance here, policies, procedures, controls, frameworks, and many things, and the risk management side. So why I am not trying to emphasize some of the slides, because I know that there are sessions, and I think that other speakers, they are more qualified to talk in more relevant manner. And the integrity, which is nothing but the integration of adapters, integration of services, integration of protocols. What happens today? Different cloud service providers have the different APIs. There is no common unified platform where I see knowledge I can use at different places, which is not happening today. And confidentiality and all that. Basically, this is the intro framework. What I am trying to do here, this is like a complete business-based orchestration where different methodologies, what is good from the ISACA, what is good from the COVID, what is good from the project management, what is good from the CMMI, and Lean Six Sigma, and so on. So I'm just trying to put and build a kind of framework, and still the job is pending. This is what its vision, and it's not a one-man show. Of course, there is a voluntary work also behind this particular. So what I'm saying here, define goals, orchestrate a typical cloud-ready architecture. So mostly it is about the architecture. It is for the cloud, because if you cannot talk about the big data unless you have a real computational environment. So you have to have an environment or a framework which not only talk about a specific module or a specific domain, but also you try to take the business elements, business characteristics, and put those things together in order to depict a particular scenario, and then do the assessment and so on. This is not the session for this one. This is what I was saying. You might have seen this in the slide. So when you are talking about the security risk, it's an infrastructure risk, concerns, application, data security, spying, unauthorized access. Unauthorized access is happening before even so many organizations they met after the events. They used to say we have seen that our financial transactions have been traced even at the bank level. So we don't have any traceability and all of that. So we need to understand. I'm not saying we should stop or something. We have to understand. Having an understanding is identifying and understanding relating to your environment, relating to your priorities, relating to your operations, looking from the top, what is the organizational strategies about, and looking from the down, how those activities are in line with your operational or organizational strategic objectives are in place. And then there is direct access and all of that, I think. Building trust. It's a big human. Sorry, I'm a little, I think, biased myself because I'm talking what I like to talk. But I would like you also to stop me whenever you think I should talk about it.
Can you show the previous slide?
Yes. And these slides will be available, so don't worry, so you don't miss out anything. So it's about the spine, it's about the direct access and in-depth surveillance, which whatever his name, Amar, he was talking about this particular thing in great detail. And security and confidentiality and all of that, and data protection, there are techniques, and even there are certain, based on the characteristics, the security will be applied, and those kind of technologies are available today. Based on the patterns, based on the characteristics, based on the behavior of the data, how the compression and how the bandwidth optimization is happening, it is happening in some or other way. Okay, yes.
There is one rest there. That destroy all cloud.
Pardon?
There is one rest there. You can destroy all the cloud.
Basically, what I'm saying
How
here.
to keep up with cloud? How to keep all your systems and data right under your own control? Many this one, this itself can destroy the whole and the whole idea of cloud.
Yes, that's a good question actually. That's good. What happens basically when you talk about the cloud? Cloud is nothing but we are talking about the public cloud. All those characteristics, agility and all of that, the provisioning and decoupling and all of that, it's about the public cloud. But what happens, we as a consumer of the IT, we cannot take all the characteristics. We cannot implement everything in our environment. What we can do, that's what I was saying, showing in the previous slide, which with the airplane. There is some homework need to be done. There are pieces you need to understand and you need to fix those security elements, those integration through adapters and all of that. And when you are talking about the infrastructure, just tell me one thing from here which you think cannot be done. Again, it depends on the capability and the viability and the financial funds available with your phone. If you are talking about the Emirates, I think they don't have the 6 Sigma, they have 7 Sigma. They are not only complying all of these particular aspects, that they are exceeding the expectations. So again, this is not everything which you will get. It's a service catalog, my friend. We are saying this is a security risk and concern service catalog. what service you want, we can check. Okay, we can tell the service provider, this is what I want. No, I don't want to help with the service provider outside there. Let us do it internally. Even all of that it is done. All of this, it is viable to do. So from the cloud strategic framework perspective, it is about the assessment of your current state of technology, current state of IT and infrastructure. How many of you exactly have a document in place reflecting the current state of IT? Please raise your hand. I want to see. Good. At least 1 in 200. Okay. So I did not touch as I was saying, so time is up. I just want you to see some of the slides, which are beautiful to see, but fortunately and unfortunately, I don't talk about that. It was about who, why, and where, and all of that, because you have to know what you want before you talk about the big data and cloud security and all of that. And these are the three things which big data cloud characteristics. Don't worry, the presentation will be available, and we will distribute that presentation. And these are the here we were talking about. Nowadays, recently I heard that there is open data initiatives happening, but open data also has taken has taken it strong. Not only now in the next session or next event, we will be more talking on the open data rather than the big data. So big data, open data, small data, and all data. Also, that is going to be the talk in the future, and through the semantic and strategic technologies. However, this is the big data delivery model, which we are talking about collection, managing, and all of that, which has to follow a governance, which is not a one-time job. It is a regular thing which you need to do it and keep doing, keep improving. There is nothing called alignment. I mean, I have seen some of the IT heads. It's about alignment, improvement, and transformation. Now my company organization is ready for the transformation. No, but there is a governance. The governance process starts again from the alignment. Whatever I have done as a transformation, again that need to be aligned. That's it. Thank you.
If one day you decided to pull from this particular vendor to go to another vendor, it will
would like to thank you because that was very elaborative and that was very consistent. We are not above the law. If we are operating an organization, we are following the law. If there is a law which prohibits you with certain things which we have seen recently, whether through the direct access to the different systems, we are not above the law. That is there. But now the question is about to what level you want the protection to happen. If you are a small organization, basically the cloud characteristics and agility which we are talking today, it is mostly for the small and medium scale organization who cannot afford to have that full-fledged investment. They cannot make an investment. Large organization, they have their investment into their private data center. And from the copyright law, what I know, the data which is being created by the creator, by law, it is his right. And this law is there. I create the data, and that by law that is the data. But now, from the government perspective, what you said is totally valid. What you said, it is valid, and because they are looking from the government side, they want to ensure the security is in place and all of that. Yes, they may have the access, and the PRISM is the recent case. What used to happen before, government, they used to ask the service provider, it is the Facebook and all of that. Recently, in 2012, Act has joined, sharing of the data. So what happens, now with the PRISM project, they directly face the data, and that was a threat, and we need to keep that in mind. I'm not saying we are in the evolution phase, we are in the transformation phase. The technology is not only evolved, but also it is revolutionizing the world. We need to be careful, but it doesn't mean that we should stop. Yes.
Among the risks which you have mentioned, there is, I think it is called interoperability.
Pardon?
Interoperability.
Yes.
Because that is the biggest challenge. Yes. Moving from one cloud provider to another.
Yes.
It is practically impossible. So, and when you say small and medium size, for them the challenge is one because the moment they can't transfer from one guy to the other, he is dead.
Yes.
Unless he has something on laptop, which usually he will not have. So, how does one take care of that?
Yes, again, the integration. When I started, I said it's about to what level you want the integration. Because the integration, it is the real challenging thing. And that's where the challenge we have. I was saying in the speech itself, like when you have the knowledge, and for a particular cloud service provider or vendor, the same knowledge cannot be applied. Unless you use some of the protocols, something like the REST protocol. So you can use those protocols in order to have a connectivity with the other third-party vendor. So that is doable, but not as a native mode. Unless all those guys, they come together and they develop a kind of model and framework where the developer, they can develop a cloud-aware applications by considering all the data from the different environments, including the social media networks. Thank you. I think I'm running out of time. Thanks a lot for your time and patience. Thank you.